Well, good evening everybody. How are you today? Welcome to Shards of Insanity, checking that everything is working before we actually start streaming. Well, the actual body of the stream, which typically involves me making sure that everything is working. And Twitch is being a little weird, even though it says I'm streaming, so I'm just going to take it at its word. So we're back in the world of Sky, Children of the Light. And I forgot to set up my preview. So this is just these evening sessions are basically just me fiddling around in Sky because it's relaxing. It's a lot less demanding than playing, say, The Long Dark. And we've already run across our first problem, and that is that the quests are only showing... Oh, there we go. Earlier I had more trouble getting them all to show up like that. So, what am I doing? I am heading off to... no, I'm going to pick up the random lights. Pop down through the aviary, do the same thing. Grab my cupcake at the cafe. And then head to the Sanctuary Islands for the polluted geyser, which is in about 10 minutes. Loads of time. And I think I might change Nimue's outfit. There's nothing wrong with what she's got. I just have a variant I think I like better. This is also a good opportunity for me to get used to something, which I will probably review later. And that is, I'm actually using a brand new keyboard. The Santa Claus in Brown, otherwise known as UPS, showed up with it today. And so I will probably do a bit of a hardware review. Because why not? It allows me to pontificate about keyboards. And I forgot that I meant to change my outfit, didn't I? Oh, I better move, actually. I'm already running a bit later than I want. It's alright. And let's change her cloak lining. There we go. Right. Let's be about it. The funny thing about keyboards is I've been using them for something like 43 years. And I never really, in those 43 years, mostly I didn't think about it. And I probably used... And I probably used all kinds of keyboards. From the classic clicky IBM keyboard, still beloved by many, and I think you can even buy ones which are newly manufactured. They're not the original IBMs, but they are basically, from what I gather, the same keyboard. But most of the time in my career, you simply use whatever keyboard was put before you, which I never really thought about, and I have little doubt were probably the cheapest that you could get. And you just use them. You use them for, professionally. You use them mostly for typing. Not so often for gaming, to be honest, until recently. But, oh grief, let me see. Back about 16, 17 years ago, I had the opportunity and requirement to buy a home computer. I mean, up to that point, I'd built one for myself, and then I'd actually, mostly as a home computer, used the company laptop. Going to... I didn't want a Windows computer because I'd spent such a big part of my professional life using Windows, and to be honest, by that point I was really quite irritated with Windows. So I went to Apple. In fact, my first Apple computer was an iMac. I liked it very much. And that came, obviously, with one of Apple's keyboards. And I discovered I really liked it. And in fact, I've been using Apple keyboards on and off ever since. And on this computer that I'm using, in fact, which I built with my son, I had an Apple keyboard. And so that's what I used. In fact, hang on a moment, I can show you this. This here is the keyboard that I've been using. And I've been using this type of keyboard, as I say, for 16, 17 years. About 16 or 17 years. And I like this keyboard. It's nice, it's flat. I think it has good key feel. Others may disagree, but I do like Apple keyboards. I like Apple keyboards on their laptops. Nothing wrong with them. Really. I think Apple keyboards are really good. They're relatively quiet. They're nice and flat. They're easy to use. They've got a good feel to them. I like Apple keyboards. I know, that's very much a personal thing. Like all these things. What kind of mouse do you like? These things are not really objective. So, I recently thought, I wonder if I can find a better keyboard. And so, I looked around, and I read reviews, and I found one. It is this. This arrived today. This is a Nuphy Fiield75 HE, and It is probably the best keyboard I have ever used. Now, coming from somebody who's really not paid much attention to keyboards in his life, I'm not sure what impact that comment has. But this one, I'm still getting used to it. This one, it's really good. It's really, really good. It's got a good feel to it. It's got a nice solid weight. Now granted, getting solid weight on a keyboard's easy. You simply stick a strip of aluminum plate in the base and bingo, it's heavy and it feels quality. But this one is, really, really impressed me. Now, I don't understand the ins and outs of the clicky bits, that is the keys. But this apparently uses Hall effect keys, which are some sort of magnetic thing. Now, in principle, well, I'll go into that, what it means. But, so far, just in the few hours that I've used it, it's been really, really good. It's got a, this is actually a gaming keyboard. I didn't pick it because gaming keyboard. I picked it because of all the positive reviews and because, let's be honest, I think it looks really cool. And if you want to, you can in fact engage RGB lighting, which I don't care about, so I have that switched off. Don't like RGB, that's just me. Again, that is a subjective thing. But I was delighted that this, if I want RGB, I've got it. If I don't want it, I can switch it off or turn it down. The other thing I really, really like about it is that it is a wired keyboard. It's connected by USB. And to me, wired keyboards are infinitely preferable to Bluetooth or 2.4 gigahertz wireless. And the reason for that is, if you have some situation with your computer or your environment and Bluetooth doesn't work, and wireless doesn't work, suddenly you want a wired keyboard. I don't want a keyboard that you have to recharge. I want something that is permanently connected to my computer, that will always be there, so that in the event something goes wrong, I've got something wired to my system, and then I can, in principle, use the keyboard to sort things out. This only comes as a wired keyboard, which I think is fantastic and perfect for me. Other people may disagree. I was almost dismayed when I was looking at keyboards, the number of them which are not wired. I think that is a mistake. I mean, frankly, I wish my mouse was wired as well. But if wired keyboards are not necessarily particularly easy to come by, I don't know if you can even buy wired mice anymore. And again, it comes down to that I want my input devices permanently linked to my computer. That way I never have to worry about the wireless connection failing. Now, sorry. In terms of size, I thought on first inspection it was larger than the key space on my Apple that I showed you. It turns out it's not. But nonetheless, one of the problems with that other keyboard is my little finger wants to reach for the things like the control key, and the control key here is in about as good a location as I can expect. It's a little bit... It's not the most accessible thing in the world, but it's pretty much under my little finger, which is pretty much where I want it. In some ways, I wish actually it was a few, maybe half a centimetre further over, but that's all right. It's not something I'm going to stress over too much. Whereas, strangely, the location of the control key on my Apple keyboard, under some games, that actually becomes important. The Long Dark, for example. Now, how does it compare with the Apple keyboard? Well, obviously, I like it better. But it takes a little bit of getting used to. The dynamics have thrown me off just enough that my typing, which I can normally touch type, is off a little bit. Despite the fact that, as far as I can tell, in 2 dimensions the keys are pretty much the same size. They take up the same amount of physical space. But the keyboard's thicker, and it's angled differently, and that is enough to somewhat throw me off. But that is not a complaint, that is just an adjustment. I've used keyboards like the IBM heavy clicky one, never had a problem with it. I can adjust, so that's not a complaint, it's just an observation. I mean, it's got some things that I don't really need. It's got 8 function keys for macros. I've never been one to use those. So it's not something I'm probably ever going to use, but if it's, if there's stuff I need, well, it's right there. Honestly, the games I play, I've never felt a need for macros tied in. For streaming, actually, that might be useful, and that's something I will have to fiddle with and experiment with. You can run it in 3 different modes of operation. There's a little dial on the side here: Gaming, Windows, and Mac. I've got it set to Windows because that means the window button on the keyboard activates the command menu. Because I run Linux. I might end up replacing it with a command key. It does come with 4 replacement keycaps, and I may replace the Windows key for a command key. I may not, but it does come with a sort of key extraction device, which I can see the utility of. And yes, I would like to have CMD instead of Win there, but it's a minor thing, and it's not. Now, if there is one potential issue for some people, it is this. As far as I know, this only comes as an American keyboard. Now, I'm English. I live in the north of England. And while it's not something that comes up all the time, if I want a pound sign, you look at the keyboard here, and there is no pound sign. It has been replaced by the hash sign. But in truth, this isn't for me a massive problem, because I have, through my life, used UK keyboards. I've used American keyboards. I've used American keyboards in the UK. Never had a problem. I've used German keyboards. Never had a problem. So really, some people may find the lack of an actual labeled pound key to be a bit of a problem. I don't, and I'm sure if I spent some quality time With the keyboard setup in Linux, I could probably resolve that. But it's simply not important enough for me to worry about. As I said, the feel is great, and it has a bit of clicky if you're doing rapid typing, but it's not ridiculous. You know, those that can get quite irritating. That excessively loud clickety clickety click. It's almost as though whoever designed the keyboard said, right, you want your manager to hear that you're typing, we'll make it a very clicky keyboard. I don't know if that was the intent. A little off-putting is the fact that the caps lock button doesn't have its own light. This again is a matter of preference. I am used to caps lock keys having their own little light so that you know it's on. But in fact, when I press caps lock, a little light appears over on the right side of the keyboard. So once you get used to it, you know where to look to find out if caps lock is on. One nice little feature, which strangely was in one review I read, the reviewer didn't like it, is that in fact there's a little knurled knob over at the top left hand side of the keyboard, and that is volume control, and I really like it. At least at the moment, the way this thing's set up, it is volume control. I think that is great. I love that. It's much easier than using the keyboard to change the volume. So for me, that's a bonus. That's actually worth having. So I now have a few minutes. I can get the rest of the light well, I can get some of the rest of the light in this area, I think. Nah, I'll come back and do it when I do the turtle. So all in all, if you're looking for a keyboard, I would definitely recommend this one. The quality of the construction is, I think, very good. I've got no problems with it. It is plastic, but it is solid plastic. It's not bendy plastic. The keys, actually, you can set up, and this is actually the biggest problem I've got. It's not the keyboard, it's that in principle you're supposed to be able to go to Nuphy's website, and there is a keyboard configuration utility on their website, and it doesn't work. Not for me. Now, personally, I am not at this point bothered. I have sent an email to Nuphy about it. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's had this issue. They say you have to use a Chromium-based browser. I am using Chrome to try and do this. It does recognize the keyboard. It just won't allow me to authenticate it, as they say. Which means I can't actually use the setup utility. And the setup utility allows you, is what you would use to set up the macro buttons. Again, for me, not a big deal. I would maybe, but to be honest with you, I could probably use them with other software as it is now, and that would be fine. But that web utility, and I should point out, by the way, that Nuphy do say they support Linux, so you know, we'll see what kind of resolution they come up with. It may just be a Linux setup thing. Who knows? But that allows you to change the dynamics of your key press. Now, this may be useful to hardcore gamers. it allows you to change things like, oh grief, how far you have to press a key in order for it to actuate. And I think there's sort of like 4 different settings you can use. Okay, fine. I'm quite happy with this as it is. That there though was a little bit of a downer. Strangely enough, their utility to test the keyboard works just fine. But the actual configuration one, I can't get it to work yet. That's a bit of a downer, but again, not particularly important to me. I can't really see myself spending a lot of time setting up my individual keys for very, very specific keystroke profiles. I simply can't see myself doing it, I'm afraid. But if you are a person who is a much more dedicated gamer than I am, and you want your keyboard set up in a particular way, then you're probably fine under Windows or OS X, possibly. But that is something to be aware of. But frankly, when I was looking up the reviews and specs and all the rest of it, the fact that you could go to the website and do that meant nothing to me. So I haven't lost anything. But nonetheless, it is still probably the best keyboard I've ever used. Now, as you might imagine, of course, it isn't cheap. If you're in the United States, this thing will set you back $150. Now, it has to be said, there are keyboards out there which cost far more. I'm not a keyboard reviewer. So, I couldn't say how those compare with this. All I can say is, oops, I got that badly wrong. All I can say is, if you've got the money and you want a really good keyboard, this is definitely worth considering. And given the amount of money we spend on even a mid-range system these days, it's definitely a worth consideration. A good mouse will cost... Oh, I'd made a mistake. No, I didn't. A good mouse will cost you quite a bit. I mean, I'm using... what is this? An MX Master 3. I've had it for a few years. I love it. Probably the best mouse I've ever used, to be honest. And that was nearly £100. So... And if I were to buy another one, I would probably... If I needed to replace it, I would probably replace it with pretty much the same kind of thing. So there you have it. My keyboard review. Like I say, it does actually, because of the change dynamics, it does throw off my typing a little bit, but again, that is something you can adjust to. I kind of wish I had a wired... I think I said, yeah, I kind of wish I had a wired mouse as well. But on the other hand, being able to pick up a mouse and move it around is useful. So... And the charge on this lasts... I don't know how long. I've never sat down and measured it. So I have a suspicion that while I say I might like a wired mouse, I have a suspicion if I actually got my hands on one, I might change my mind. Now, there is one aspect to this, and that is because it is significantly thicker than my old Apple keyboard. It does change the angle my wrists are at. So instead of being more down, it's now more like that. You can order separately a wrist pad for this, and I suspect some people might find that extremely valuable. I kinda wish I had gotten it, but again, I've been using keyboards of various dimensions and characteristics without thinking about it for so long, and I actually found in the past wrist pads to be irritating, so it's not something I'm going to worry about too much. Again, it's just a different dynamic. After years of using very slim keyboards, it's just different, that's all. So, there you go, my first ever hardware review. Let me know what you think in the comments, or in chat if you're watching right now. Oh, about time I head for Grandma's. Of course, with my headset on, sorry, earbuds in, I can't actually tell how loud this keyboard is. I know when I've listened to recordings to do things like judge sound quality, I can clearly hear the mouse, for example, which has led me to wonder if there is such a thing as a silent mouse. But I'm going to have to listen at some point to a recording of myself playing, see whether I can see how loud I find the keyboard is. I have not watched other people's live streams, but you know when other people are playing games, you can obviously sometimes hear their keyboards. Might be considered a little intrusive, I suppose. But I would actually have to do a deliberate comparison between my old keyboard and the new one to see how bad I think it is. But for me, sitting here gaming, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But if somebody wants to comment on the amount of keyboard noise they're hearing, that would be potentially very useful information to have, so go for it. Oh, these vines are irritating. Why can't they make them burn cleanly? There we go. Oh, that's irritating. Well, seeing as I was talking about keyboard and mouse, let's I'll mention the MX Master 3 I use. Because one of the things I love about this, it's got two scroll wheels, one on the side. In fact, I use that scroll wheel to jump it makes, for some reason, I find it easier than using one of the two side buttons. It's got two side buttons, two scroll wheels, and a regular left and a right mouse button. It's also got another button right underneath my thumb, which I think is completely useless under Linux. It doesn't do anything. But on Mac, this was intended for. I think it was used to switch between programs or something, but it's been a while. But again, you know, good mouse. Best mouse I've ever used. I say best mouse I've ever used. I tell you what, that's sort of true. Because I happen to be a big fan of the Apple mouse. I love those things. I think they're fantastic. Not perfect. Definitely not perfect for gaming. I can absolutely guarantee you that. So here is my Apple mouse. I think this is fantastic. This is actually probably the best mouse I've used, just not for gaming. But I love this thing. I think it's fantastic. The charging point's a bit ridiculous, but that's never really been a problem for me. But I do love this mouse. I think it's probably, yeah, that is my favorite mouse of all time. I wish this was more like it. It just feels, it's a perfectly good mouse. It just feels a little off compared with my beloved Magic Mouse. And I know there are people out there who say, oh, we don't see the point of the Magic Mouse, it's this and it's that, and it's silly and all the rest of it. Again, this is a matter of subjectivity. For gaming, no, don't get a Magic Mouse. Get something like a proper 2-button mouse with a scroll wheel. You can't play the Long Dark, for example, with a Magic Mouse. Well, you can, but you'd have to remap some of the functions to other keys. It's not great for gaming. Good for probably some gaming, just not in general. But as a general all-purpose non-gaming mouse, yep. Definitely the best one, hands down. But for gaming, yeah, you want something a little bit different. You want a traditional left-right click thing. So there you go. Now you've got my opinion on keyboards and mice, for what it's worth. And the silly thing is, I'm probably going to repeat this tomorrow when I stream the Long Dark. So whoever watches this, yep, you are first to hear Shards of Insanity, aka me, doing hardware reviews and actually showing hardware on camera. Questions, comments, etc. are welcome, including, are you mad? Have you not tried this or that? And I will say, no, I haven't, and I'm not going to. I've got what I've got now. One thing I must admit, I can't know if you saw it when I showed it. The keyboard actually has a miniature carrying handle on the side. I have no idea why. How much carrying around are you going to do? Yes, you can, by the way, unplug the USB cable from both ends. You can unplug it from the computer, you can unplug it from the keyboard. So, okay, then you've got a little carry handle. I don't really see the point, to be honest, but it's not to the device's detriment in any way, shape or form. Excuse me. For some reason, my voice is rougher in the evenings than it is first thing in the morning. Tends to be, yeah, a little bit phlegmier. Excuse me. So, if you've watched me before, was it last night and the previous night, you'll know that I have now more or less figured out how to simulcast using Restream. I think I've got that more or less down pat. I've got it to do what I want it to do, which is good. It works well with OBS. And so far I haven't had any particular problems with. In fact, the biggest problem I've had with Restream is Restream's own preview, which every time I've tried to use it ends up just stopping. So I don't use it for that purpose anymore. I actually use YouTube to make sure everything's working, and then I've separated the chats out into 2 separate windows. Restream does have a single chat function, but if the preview's not working, I don't see the point. So and I'll be honest, the only reason I stream to Twitch is pretty much because I can, and you know, it's not so much an attempt to reach to a larger audience, although that would be nice, as it is to, oh, I can do this, and I am geek enough to admit it. Oh, and we've still got that little bug. There's something about the dye thing. I can't see the light balls. I can see them arriving at me, but it tends to clear up if I change location. You know, portal to somewhere else. Yeah, I do like that volume control, though. That is very cool. And some of these, the macro buttons do have default functions. I think 2 of them do, but I can't remember what they do now, and it's not that important to me. Sorry, I'm almost thought every time I think I'm going to stop talking about hardware, I continue talking about hardware. At least I'm not talking about flat earthers, which I did yesterday. Nothing much, as far as I know, has happened in the flat earth community since yesterday. I must admit that is not... There are people who spend and fairly successful YouTubers who actually dedicate a certain amount of time to debunking flat earth channels. I don't know how they do it. It's always the same kind of thing. They end up regurgitating the same rubbish pretty much over and over again, just in different ways. So having to do that as your sort of YouTube channel type job, yeah. That must get very tiring. Now, if you expand that into debunking bad science, okay, yeah, there's a lot more to do there. If my mouth is moving and you're not hearing sound, please let me know. That actually happened earlier on today, and someone in chat very kindly pointed it out, at which point I had to stop and unmute the microphone and then remember what I'd been saying for the past 5 minutes. Actually, my long dark stream today turned out to be quite nerve-wracking. And if you want to know why, you'll have to go watch the recording. If you can put up with 2 hours of me again. Hey, some people do. For which I am very grateful. Good grief, have I still got 5 minutes to go of the Grandma event? Okay. Then I have to hightail it to the turtle. I'm still kind of trying to come up with a good way of doing the dies at the same time. In the end, I think it's simply, if you've got a few spare minutes between events, yeah, grab some dies. If you don't, just grab the dies other people have set up for you. But I mean, look at this. Here's the number of dies I've got, and I don't really have anything I want to do with any of them, which does sort of beg the question, why am I bothering to collect them? And I can't remember if I stated this yesterday. My advice would be, if you want, don't get the dies and try and decide what you want to do with them. Go to the dyeing room, experiment with a look, decide if you like it, and then get the dies you need. That would strike me as being the best approach. Because if you go chasing after dies, you will affect your candle runs. Unless you've got hours. I mean, you could probably spend 3 hours, and I haven't tried it. You could probably spend 3 hours doing every run. Candle, daily, seasonal candles, and dies. And I'm not sure you'd necessarily max out your dies in the process. And I would reckon it'd probably take 3 hours. I'm not. My YouTube name may be Shards of Insanity. I don't think I'm quite that insane. Don't think so. Opinions vary. Oh, that was interesting. I went to hit escape, and I hit something else instead. Oh, yes, it's a sort of a bit more of a stretch, I think. Again, that's just a matter of adjustment. When your muscle memory is all set up for one certain type of keyboard dynamic, switching to and this is, let's face it, a completely different keyboard. Just in terms of thickness and the physical height of the keys, yeah, that's enough to throw off your muscle memory. If there is, I'll tell you what, there is one thing I wish I had now thought of, and maybe I would have made a different decision. But I mentioned that I like wired keyboards, and I think there is a place for wired mice, right? Just in case something goes wrong with Bluetooth or you lose connection and you can't regain connection. on a keyboard like this, having a touchpad off to one side as a sort of mouse backup, that I can see as being that potentially would be very useful. You know, off to the left or right side, doesn't matter. Just so that you've got a sort of interim backup for your mouse. That would actually be, I think, a pretty good idea, but that hadn't occurred to me until after I got the keyboard, and I'm certainly not about to return it and try something else. The funny thing is, this mouse here, you can it has a recharging port right there. So in effect, if you're recharging it and you're using it at the same time, it's basically a wired mouse. But I think it's still actually using Bluetooth. I don't think the wire does anything except recharge the mouse. So, okay. Time to head for the turtle. Should have left earlier, actually. Did I pick up these? Yes, I did. Oh, that's all right. As I say, I find this is a game good for winding down a bit. The most stressful part of my day is probably streaming The Long Dark in the mornings. Well, unless somebody, excuse me, unless building management suddenly announces they need to come over and check out for Legionnaire's disease. Yes, that happened today, actually. Building management sent me a message to say, we need to check your water system for Legionella risk. Legionella bacteria is the bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease. It's like, well, when did they start checking for that? I did get this earlier, didn't I? Didn't I? Oh. Oh, I've got a couple of minutes I can check. I'm pretty certain I got this earlier. Yes, I did. Alright. Oh, let's help this person. Let's help them catch the Audrey. Oh! Ah, now I should be able to get the candle cake by the bells. Good height, good angle, good glide path. I wonder what the glide ratio of those capes is. Improbable, I think, is the answer to that question. I can't be sure, but I sometimes think that when you're playing wingless, your glide path is actually probably comparable to a wingsuit. I have got about a minute or two before the turtle. That's an interesting honk they've got. I don't know which one that is. Right, let's go find the turtle. Got a suspicion that player may have seen it. No? Where's the... Oh, there it is. You know, it's kind of funny. Don't often see the turtle with the dark plants on its back. More often than not, I don't see it. I think they get shed in the water. To that person down there, would you like to come up here and give us a hand? That would be appreciated. Oh, for heaven's sake, you've got 120, you've got 200. Wing levels, you know how this game is played. Why can't you help? I'm probably being unreasonable. I accept and embrace my unreasonability there. Now there's a button I could do with having silent, the mute unmute button on that microphone. I can actually do it in software. I could set up a hotkey for it, but I always forget. And I like actually having the physical indicator to say, oh yes you are actually enabled. I'll have to check it actually. When I was considering doing streaming, I got a headset, you know, microphone as well. And one of the things that I liked about it, still do, is that it has flip up to mute. So I could literally reach up, flip up the mic, and it would be muted. And that's a heck of a lot easier. I did actually try setting up a keyboard hotkey, but that didn't quite work so well for me. I kept forgetting. I'm moderately certain I have somehow missed a clam up here. Oh well. Is it just me, or are there fewer clams than usual? I haven't missed one down here, have I? I have not. Oh, there's one here. Now, seeing as I was talking about keyboards, I mentioned that I'd use UK, US, and German keyboards. I actually liked the German keyboards. I mean, obviously they were necessary. I was in Austria, and the ability to type all the various accents was highly useful. And that was, I liked that. And in case you've just joined me, hello, how you doing? I'm just relaxing, playing Sky. Talking about things. Nothing too serious, I hope. So how long have I been playing? 62 minutes. So in a second, I'll be able to judge how many candles I've got in roughly an hour. It'll be an hour and 5 minutes. When I first started streaming Sky, I did candle runs where the goal was to see how many candles can you actually get in an hour under different circumstances, and the answer came out fairly reliably to be, I think it was 15 or 16. That kind of changed how I looked at doing candle runs, given that the most you can get is what, 21? I mean, you go to grey at 20. And I've known people who will then play on to get 21 candles, but that means you have to get practically every single light in the game, and yeah, I don't think I've ever done 21 candles. But given the way that I've been, what I did here, which was basically geyser, grandmas, turtle, anything incidental on the way, including the odd die, it's useful to say, okay, this is how many I got. At a guess, I'm going to say I got about 13 or 14. We'll see in a second. Plus a few dies, which I don't really need, to be honest. Oh, I got these earlier. Okay, I forgot. So let's see how many got. 92. 114. There we go. In 64 minutes I got 114. And it would have been a bit higher, but I got a die on the way. So next I'm going to go and grab the dailies. In fact, what I'm going to do first is, seeing as I've been streaming for 65 minutes, I am actually going to take a quick bio break, which is my usual thing. So I'll be back in about 4 minutes typically. So I will see you shortly. I was just saying, I was just checking that the sound was working. What was I going to do? I was going to go to the Golden Wasteland and do the dailies. What can I talk about? Ah, I know. I self-identified earlier as a geek. I am a geek. I'm a 59-year-old geek. I've been arguably a geek for, oh grief, most of my life, ever since I found out about computers, really. But I would not say I was traditional geek. I don't care that much about Star Wars or Star Trek. If the movies are entertaining, I'll watch them, but it's not something I get so wrapped up about. I'm not exactly a comic book geek, although I do like a few graphic novels. I'm kind of a computer geek, although I don't go overboard with it. Of the things, if there a movie series I am a bit of a geek about, probably Alien series, but again, that's more a case of entertainment than it is anything else. I'm not a Marvel geek either. I'm just a general all-purpose, unfocused geek, I think would be the way to put it. I'm not quite sure when geeks, as it were, sort of hit the mainstream. I suppose it was with Star Wars. I don't know. I do know when I was I saw Star Wars, the first one, the one that they now call A New Hope. When that came out in 1977, and I think I was the first person in my school to actually see it. Keep forgetting I've only got one wing level. But no, even then, the movie I probably geeked out the most about wasn't Star Wars, it was Tron. That was when I was about 16, I think. Because it was the kind of movie that only the computer geeks really understood. Which is kind of funny, really. I do remember going to, oh grief, what was it? The Personal Computer World Show, I think, in London. And they were playing Tron. This is the original Tron. What was it, 1980 something or other. And a bunch of us who were really there to see what technology was around and this sort of thing, ended up standing for about an hour and a half watching Tron. I still remember that. Because there's a little bit of your brain that's going, did I actually do that? Yes, I did. That was kind of funny. And yes, I did like the recent sequel to Tron. I said, in a way, I suppose that was an influential movie, possibly the original, more so than Star Wars, I think, for me. And I was probably a Douglas Adams geek. In case you're wondering, Douglas Adams wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, originally as a radio play on the BBC. I remember the very first broadcast of that. There's a group of us used to be able to quote from the official scripts when I was at university. So I'm not a Big Bang Theory type of geek. You're never going to get me into an argument about which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars. I'll probably look right at you and say Alien 2. Sorry, Aliens. Or the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of Conan the Barbarian. Actually, I haven't watched that in a while. I could probably go on at length about why the original Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger was such a good movie, but I will spare you. Unless somebody really, really wants me to. I think I saw... Did I see Conan the Barbarian before I read some of the books? No, I think it was the other way around. I think I actually had read some of the Conan the Barbarian books before I ever saw the movie. There are movies from... I am a certain type of movie geek, but definitely not in the traditional sense. One of my favourite movies is Zulu, which came out in 1965, which is a won't say dramatization, a retelling of the Battle of Rorke's Drift. Very worthwhile seeing. Stars a surprisingly young Michael Caine. Breakthrough movie for him. Another movie I still watch, actually, occasionally, is Where Eagles Dare. Richard Burton and a young Clint Eastwood. That's still worth watching. But when I was a kid at school, actually, they showed it to us one Saturday at school, Where Eagles Dare. But Where Eagles Dare was a book written by an author named Alistair MacLean. And when I was at school, or that particular school, I would have been, let's say, between the ages of 8 and 12, as I remember. And Alistair MacLean was one of the must-read authors. Everybody read Alistair MacLean. So I suppose it's not too surprising that one of his books, one of the movies based on his book, should be a sort of not only a must-watch but a must-read. Around about the same time, actually, they again at the school they played us another movie based on an Alistair MacLean book, which was Guns of Navarone. I haven't watched that in ages. The funny thing is, Guns of Navarone was made, I think, in the 60s, and it's got a very 60s style, which I must admit now I find a little bit off-putting, but it's still a good movie. Gregory Peck and David Niven are the ones that stick in my mind, and Anthony Quayle, and I can't remember all the others. The book was definitely better than the movie in retrospect. But around about the same time, I watched Waterloo, which is a surprisingly reasonable retelling of the Battle of Waterloo. And I watch that typically whenever I'm particularly bored, or for whatever reason. It's a very, very good movie. It was made at the height of the Cold War in conjunction with the Russians. They used a lot of Russian soldiers as extras in production. Hangs together surprisingly well. I mean, it's obviously not perfect, but as if you want a summary of the Battle of Waterloo, that movie is actually pretty good. So that's one of my geek movies, I suppose. Another one is a Japanese-American production. Tora Tora Tora, about the attack on Pearl Harbor. Watch that about once a year as well. Showing my age. I think there is one more thing for me to do. Yes. Visit the bonfire. Oh, that should be interesting. Because I can't just fly there. Well, I hope whoever was watching, or has been watching, was a subscriber. What I'm really doing, I think, live streaming, is putting a little bit of a community together. I think it's kind of nice. I often wonder if they talk to each other behind the scenes. I'm pretty certain they don't, but who knows, I could be wrong. At least I don't have to do tickets today. After this I'll go back to... yeah, I'll polish off Daylight Prairie and the Hidden Forest. Oh, there's a surprising number of people there. Here's a little tip. If you're ever low on light, you can bounce. And while you won't get your wing levels back, you won't continue to lose light. Because you kind of regenerate. Doesn't work too well in the Hidden Forest, unfortunately, if it's raining. How many candles did I say I had? Oh, 14. Yeah, look how long it's taken me to get up to 15 candles. Oh, granted, I just did sacrifice time to get the seasonal candles, but that's an investment. It's going to be, what, 60 days until we... wait until the sky puppy goes for the manta. Poor manta. Wonder if I got enough time to... yes, I think I do. Yes. Just outrun the krill there. I think I did a video where I was playing with the mantas in this area. Well, live stream. I think I called it Tickling the Krill. Head towards the bonfire. Yep. Okay, so this is not something I've done very often. Oh, it's right over here around the corner, isn't it? I'm good. Normally I fly over the top, but with one wing level that's a little harder. But in principle, I should just be able to follow the shoreline around, and as long as I keep moving, I should be okay. Yeah, how about that? Oh, let's pop home. Pick up my reward, hopefully. I had trouble earlier picking up these. It took forever to collect the candles. I can only assume it's some kind of server type error. And I may as well activate... What have I got here? And off back we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go to the caverns, the village, and the 8-player puzzle. I won't bother with the nest. Yeah, I've got about 40 minutes. And of course butterfly fields, which is where I am right now, because I didn't pick the light up from here, except at the entrance to the nest. One thing I did wonder, whether it was a keyboard problem, is I'll see if I can demonstrate it. Is this, right? It says F. So you press F, nothing happens. Press F again, and it works. I wondered if that was my other keyboard. No, it's not. It's a, I don't know, game feature? Now, you can, of course, use left mouse click. But the F button, for anything like that, always seems to take 2 clicks. Not going to go into the Prairie Peaks. Not for dyes. Depends how much time I've got left by the time I finish off. Whoa! No dye around here. That's highly unusual. This is a bit pointless, but I'll do it anyway. Well, that's really strange. I would have expected to see... Oh, there's some butterflies over there, but I would have expected to see more. Yeah, so here's my general rule now, more or less, unless I got specific time to waste. Grab them on the fly, carry straight on. For some reason, I was just reminded of, oh, what was it, back in the 90s, early noughties, 2000s? webcomics were quite a thing. I don't know if they still are. I haven't followed any, but and I can't remember the name of the webcomic. But it was sort of kind of based on maybe the lives of a couple of real people. And the joke was made more than once, as I recall, that one of them was actually a fan of My Little Pony video games. And that actually got me thinking at the time. If the game is good, who cares what it's about? If you like it, it appeals to you, whether it's the gameplay or whatever. Who cares if it's My Little Pony or, you know, the slight oddity of a 59-year-old playing Sky. Having said that, I know I am not the only older gentleman who likes Sky. I don't think I could ever bring myself to pick up a My Little Pony game. But while I wouldn't call that a revelation, I couldn't help but agree. If the game's good and you enjoy it, who cares what it is? Of course, the other thing about streaming Sky is that I don't have to worry about the content being unsuitable for young people. I do generally try and keep the content such that anybody can watch it. Including whatever I'm talking about. Oh, that's nice of somebody. They've already been here. Saves me the trouble. Mental note to self, I don't need the tickets. Oh, the temptation to light up the Audreys. Sorry. I think I commented yesterday that the plants there remind me of Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. Oh, so tempted. Oh, might as well. Oh, come here. Come here. No, don't do that. Oh, for heaven's sake, why? Oh, this is irritating. I know they're supposed to be sensitive to deep calls, but apparently they're not that sensitive. Oh, this is... no one's opened up that yet anyway, so... And I can't do it on my own. Come on! Oh! You profoundly irritating plant. Oh, didn't have a torch lit. That was silliness on my part. This is ridiculous. This drive to collect everything you can pick up. I know I'm wasting my time. This is time I should be spending collecting candles, because those are useful, more immediately useful. As much as I like the dying feature, it's not immediately useful. See, what I really need is someone to come down here and open the door. Oh. I have assistance. Good. Oh, I see they got... Is that a symbol they have on their back? To me it looks more like a shield. But apparently that's symbols. And strangely, I don't think I've seen anybody even use them. And if there was going to be an accessory that someone was going to use to irritate other players, I thought it would have been the symbols, but apparently not. Were you hiding from me? Oh, this is an example of a cute chibi. Oh, come on. Somebody... Oh, now you're trolling us, aren't you? Thank you. I've actually seen this successfully done with only 6 people. And for whatever reason, 2 of the people, I think, either just up and left or went to sleep. But I swear there are times players just troll other players in here. I wonder what the lowest number of people it has ever taken to solve that puzzle. Like I say, I've seen it done with 6. I suppose technically you could do it with 5? That takes a bit of doing. If you had a... You need, what, 8 players for that? So if you had 4, and they were all coordinated, and they both... I think maybe you could do it with 4 people. But that would take a bit of doing. Oh, no, 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 no. I am not doing that. I want to be able to finish off. Oh, I've actually got time. And I have picked up 16 candles so far, so arguably I might be able to spare the time to do this one. Oh, thank you. Right. I wonder... Okay, like I say, I've already got 16 candles. I wonder if I can make 18. Right, hidden forest. You know, I should actually have time to go and do at least one of the runs in Valley of Triumph. Because all I've got left here is the Boneyard. Yes. I always get these two mixed up. The Boneyard and the Graveyard. Graveyard's in the Golden Wasteland. Boneyard is in the Hidden Forest. As if there's a difference. No, 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 don't pay any attention to the dice. Ooh, the amount of restraint I exhibited just then. And in case anybody's wondering, no, I don't think I've got the... I don't have enough flappy power to... Oops, almost forgot my umbrella. The umbrella is very useful here. Come on. Thank you. Tell you what, I bet if I was to hit F, it would pick up that winged light immediately. And no, I'm not going to do it because that violates the conditions under which I play this particular avatar. And yes, I know it's a silly condition, but it doesn't matter that much. Right, and I should be able to just go straight through here because I've got all the light I can reach. And I'd rather have candles than die, to be honest. Although that Audrey did look rather tempting. Oh, someone's already done it. Okay, I don't mind picking up what's already available. Let me just check. How about that? I just don't want to waste the time burning them. Also gives you a nice little boost. Very handy. I swear I used to, on the other keyboard, be able to go from hit the W and reach the 7. Hang on a second. Now I'm curious. This is my old keyboard. Hang on. What was I complaining about? No, I can't. That's my old keyboard, and for some reason I thought that I could actually have my one finger, my middle finger on the W and still reach the 7. The simple answer is no, I can't. Because as I was saying earlier, I got a new keyboard. I kind of semi-reviewed it too, right back at the beginning of the stream. I'll spare you that. Okay, I think I'm going to be better off going round the other way. Go turn the rain off. You know, if you time it just right, you actually can fly pretty well through here using the butterflies. That might be something I have to experiment with more. Awfully tempted to check and see whether any of my recent watchers subscribe to me, but oh heck. Whoops. Let's have a quick look. Nope. Not a big deal. Right, now I will go and grab the rest of the candles. Trying to remember where... Is it not here? Oh, funny. I thought it was there. And I also thought there was a patch... Oh no! I thought there was a patch under there. Or did I not? Never mind. Alright, now I've got myself kind of oriented as to where the patches of light are today. For all the good that it does me. You know, I think I might just be better off if I skip the rest there and just head straight into the Valley of Triumph. I think that might be a more efficient use of my time. One thing I put in a request for every so often is some kind of teleport marker. You know, make it a spell, a purchasable spell, so you can stick a marker down somewhere and then teleport to it, as if it was a, you know, a friend. You could have a constellation of your fast travel areas. Heck, they could even charge something like 10 Ascendant Candles for it, and I'd still buy them. I think that would be worth it. So if I keep to my 2-hour limit, technically I've got 7 minutes to go. Maybe I'll do something different tomorrow. No Man's Sky, possibly. I haven't played No Man's Sky in a bit. I know they've recently had a big upgrade to include gas giants, and I must admit I would like to see that. So possibly tomorrow I will have a bash at No Man's Sky. I haven't played it in a while. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, that's not a bad. I'm finding the idea quite attractive in my own mind. No Man's Sky, the hunt for gas giants. Alright, let's do the run down to the Colosseum. That should be good for a candle. So if I am going to do No Man's Sky tomorrow evening, mental note to self, well no, I'll have to upgrade it anyway before I can run. Go away. Just realised I think I'm playing the volume higher than normal. When did I turn the volume up? I do not know. Ow. Donked my elbow on the desk next to me. Afraid I seem to have run out of things to say. Well, I am coming to the end. According to this, I've got 2 minutes left, and I think I am going to finish this here and bring this stream to an end. Besides which, I need to get some dinner. I think that makes 18 candles. That was worth doing. Even though, yeah. Probably could have gone to grey if I hadn't been messing around with the die packs. Whatever. Well, almost done. If you make it this far, congratulations. Hopefully that means you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and say something in the comments section. It all helps the YouTube algorithm. Apparently, I don't know. I don't think I've ever done that entire spiel before. And I think we're all done. Again, if you made it to the end, I hope you all have a good day. If you didn't make it to the end, I hope you have a good day as well. And I will, I think, be running No Man's Sky tomorrow. 6 PM Greenwich Mean Time. I will see you all then. And in the meantime, please have a good day.